What are water tankers for? In the face of such indifference to death and disaster, experts now warn that India's climate threats are expanding into previously overlooked low coastal flats, fragile deltas, seismic valleys, Himalayan pilgrimage towns, and fresh landslide corridors across the northeast. Climate disasters have shifted from isolated shocks to overlapping transformations that are sneakily redrawing the country's physical map. Coastal regions, just meters above sea level, face tides pressing inland through drains and rivers, deltas risk being redrawn, and mountain settlements built on overstrained slopes are collapsing under cloudbursts, seismic tensions. Forest belts that once cooled the land are hotter, while cities sit at the intersection of extreme heat and collapsing drainage. With more than 80% of the population exposed to hydrometeorological extremes and 9 states ranked among the world's most at risk regions, eco vulnerability now cuts across coastlines, mountains, deltas, forests, and megacities alike. Seismic shock. While on paper these cities are stable, people have forgotten that violent earthquakes can strike suddenly and hit harder than expected. So, Rajkot, Gujarat. The ground is a problem since the region's cracked geology can make earthquake shaking even worse, like how jello shakes more than solid ground. It's influenced by the nearby Kutch fault system, where the devastating Bhuj earthquake happened in 2001. Scientists predict shaking could be moderate to severe 0.19 G to 0.39 G. As one contractor explains, buildings go up fast, but few follow seismic norms, meaning construction is booming, but builders aren't following earthquake safety rules. Engineer Satyaprakash Mishra says the city needs detailed soil studies for each area, city level earthquake design teams, proper training for builders and engineers, fixing old unsafe buildings, and better coordination between authorities. Without urgent action, it could face a disaster like the 2001 Bhuj earthquake that killed thousands. Jabalpur, Madhya Pradesh, the marble city. The marble city sits on a dangerous crack in this earth's crust, the Narmada Son Tapti fault line. Think of it like a city sitting on a cracked foundation of one of the most earthquake prone cities in central India. Most neighborhoods haven't checked if their buildings are earthquake safe. People have forgotten about the big earthquake that hit in 1997. As one resident says, no one thinks it can happen again, but it definitely could. The city needs detailed neighborhood by neighborhood earthquake safety rules called microzonation, updated local building codes that work with India's national and state disaster management authorities, NDMA and SDMA. Jabalpur is in a danger spot for earthquakes and urgently needs better safety rules enforcement. Burning red, longer dry spells, rising heat, and fragmented forests are making India's woodlands more fire prone. Nilambur, Kerala. Nilambur's forests and plantations are increasingly wildfire risk. This fragmentation alters fuel continuity and dryness, increasing ignition potential, says Yara Sultan of the Whale Tech Rangarajan Dr. Saguntala R&D Institute, noting that extended spells and human ignition, over 90% of forest fires, drive the trend Delayed detection allows small fires to escalate rapidly, she adds. She adds, amid weak funding, data integration, and interagency coordination. The solution could be to set up community based fire management committees, real time integration of satellite fire data, and better fuel management. Long term resilience, Sultan says, depends on stable budgets for fire management and cooperation between ministries. Lahore and Spiti, Himachal Pradesh. About 57% of Indian districts are at risk to very high risk to extreme heat, with 76% of the population at risk. Lahore and Spiti lead the heat wave intensity index across India. The intensity of heat waves is increasing overall in India, says Kashif Imdad, geology professor and UPSTMA member, adding reduced moisture in the soil is responsible for growing heat even in cold desert zones. Warmer temperatures and shifting precipitation are reducing snow cover and straining water resources. State and national disaster institutions must strengthen heat and climate adaptation planning by especially paying attention to high altitude zones. Better monitoring of temperature and precipitation trends will help people in the region to survive heat better. Lucknow, Uttar Pradesh, UP's capital faces serious climate danger. Unbridled construction on farmland, vegetation, and water bodies is driving hotter surface temperatures and a stronger heat island effect when a city is turned into a heat trap by asphalt, concrete, and dark roofs that absorb solar radiation, storing heat and releasing it slowly. Reduced vegetation, tall buildings that trap heat and block cooling winds, creating urban canyons, waste heat from air conditioners, vehicles, and industrial processes, air pollution that trap heat, contributing to higher temperatures. The number of heat wave days has significantly increased, says Imdad. Experts feel cooling centers, air conditioned public spaces set up during extreme heat as part of a city's heat wave response system are a must. Accessible drinking water is essential alongside a better warning system. And then finally, we have Agra. The immortal Taj Mahal is feeling the heat, causing structural strain from intense heat radiation from red sandstone and burning dust from the dry Yamuna river bed. Dense concrete paved zones, the usual Indian urban features, are heat culprits which trap humidity. Congested neighborhoods, limited shade, and water stress pose serious risk to vendors, guides, and transport workers. By noon, the heat from the stones and the road feels like it's coming from below your feet, says Rafiq, a rickshaw driver working near the Taj Mahal complex. Absolutely essential are drinking water stations and high footfall tourist areas, shaded pathways, cooling shelters, regulated work rest cycles for outdoor workers, and embedding heat resilient design standards into all future development plans to ease the stress. Let's see more on this. It's the Disaster Diary, an article. So let's see more of this. Stay tuned with me. They're doing the Disaster Diary, an article on climatic changes and potential dangers. So we have fatal slope. steep, fragile western Ghats and Himalayan slopes are becoming saturated during monsoons, triggering landslides worsened by rampant construction and land use change. Idukki, Kerala. Heavy rains trigger deadly landslides in Idukki with growing frequency. The causes span decades. Resettlement of families on unstable slopes in the 1950s, dams construction that submerged forests in the 1970s, dense tourism, deforestation, monoculture farming, warring, and climate change intensifying monsoon patterns. Idukki ranks as India's 18th most landslide prone district. Human activities increase the impact by making the land more prone to erosion along the runout path, says Minu Theresa Abraham of the Norwegian Geotechnical Institute. She argues that reducing risk requires empowering local authorities to enforce landslide safe building codes as well as regulating earthworks, tightening zoning, improving early warning systems, and planning shelters as extreme rainfall intensifies. Next, we have Rudraprayag in Uttarakhand. Rudraprayag ranks first in India for landslide exposure, sitting in a highly susceptible Himalayan zone where road cutting, deforestation, and monsoon saturation heighten risk. We have lived here for generations, but now every shower makes us anxious, says resident Ashish T. Experts urge identification and protection of high risk zones through stricter land use rules, safer road construction, slope stabilization, improved rainfall monitoring, early warning systems, and community preparedness to reduce disaster losses and monsoon slope saturation heightened risk. Then we have Mahabaleshwar in Maharashtra. Mahabaleshwar's construction boom and deforestation are reducing slope resilience to heavy rain and landslides. Construction combined with loss of trees and uneven slopes have made it less resilient to intense rainfall, says Pratiksha Chalke, RSGIS specialist at MIT WPU Pune, noting that monitoring and regulation of tree and hill cutting remain weak. Maharashtra's Bhaji Vasundhara mission aims to restore sustainability through green infrastructure and better land management. Chalke says tracking landslides and soil moisture, regulating hill construction, and protecting vegetation will be the key to reducing disaster risk. Then we have stormy seas. Warming Indian Ocean waters are driving more intense tropical cyclones, especially in the Bay of Bengal. Cuttack in Odisha. A 2024 assessment places central Odisha, including Cuttack, in a high impact cyclone zone. Extreme changes in climate have made it susceptible to frequent cyclones and flooding, says Pankaj Kopad, Assistant Professor, Department of Environmental Studies, MIT WPU Pune, adding that rapid urbanization and poor drainage worsen impacts. In our area, moderate cyclones or even heavy rain quickly waterlog the lanes, says resident Sabitri Das. Upgrading drainage, strengthening green blue infrastructure, and enforcing floodplain rules could help Cuttack cope. Kopade says tracking river discharge, encroachment, and drainage efficiency can improve flood forecasting, while new district risk maps can guide mitigation. Cuddalore in Tamil Nadu. Cuddalore's low-lying coast lies in one of Tamil Nadu's most cyclone-prone zones. Cuddalore's coastal belt is naturally exposed two cyclones, but local conditions have amplified that risk, says Aditya Varghese, Head, Center of Excellence, Public Finance, SEEDS. Mangrove loss, floodplain construction, and weak drainage now heighten inundation even during moderate storms. Restoring mangroves, improving drainage, and enforcing buffer zones could curb flooding, while community planning and risk maps aid recovery. Varghese says SEEDS is also testing parametric insurance for faster cyclone relief. Last but not the least, two more. That sinking feeling. Rising seas, stronger surges of tides, and fast retreating shores are almost drowning India's coastal towns and villages. Visakhapatnam, Andhra Pradesh. Visakhapatnam's shoreline expansion and reclamation have removed natural buffers, heightening flood and surge exposure. The combination of shoreline modification, rapid port development, coastal erosion, and localized land subsidence heightens its vulnerability, says Tariq Ali, Sarita Atabe, Paramita Roy, and Chaitanya Baliram Mande, whose 2025 study finds moderate to high flood risk by 2100. Inconsistent CRZ enforcement and weak coordination are worsening risk impacts. The researchers call for slope stabilization, dune and vegetation restoration, tighter reclamation controls, and drainage upgrades. They say real time flood monitoring and warnings could, could cut future exposure. Karwar in Karnataka. Karwar's shoreline is shifting with beaches moving from accretion to erosion and low-lying estuary areas facing more flooding, disrupted sediment supply, lost natural buffers, and coastal construction are worsening the trend. Construction and drainage bottlenecks aggravate waterlogging, says Mohan Kamath, a local resident. Priorities actions include restoring and reinforcing natural buffers, upgrading drainage in flood prone pockets, and updating hazard assessments. A more integrated modeling approach that brings together estuarine dynamics, extreme rainfall, and future sea level rise is needed to sharpen future risk assessment. Musuni Island, West Bengal. The island's underground water is turning salty because people are pumping out too much. Protective walls are breaking down, and storm floods keep pushing seawater inland. And as local resident Pradeep Das puts it, earlier our wells had potable water, but now even the hand pumps taste salty. Yet many wells haven't even been tested to see how contaminated they are. The island needs stronger walls to keep seawater out, regular water testing, a system to let rainwater naturally refill underground water instead of just constantly pumping it out, as well as limits on how much water people can extract. Coastal vegetation as natural barriers, better government management, and local rainwater collection and storage. Kakinada, Andhra Pradesh, rapid urban growth is pulling seawater inland, shifting river channels, and excessive groundwater pumping are lowering water tables and increasing salinity. A 2025 study identifies multiple threats: erosion, cyclones, sea level rise, and industrial pressure. As farmer S. Satyanarayana notes, the water is turning brackish. You only notice when it starts tasting different. Kakinada must strengthen infrastructure, implement smarter land use planning, and limit groundwater extraction. The study recommends more cyclone shelters in vulnerable areas and coastal protection through beach restoration and mangrove planting. Unchecked growth is contaminating Kakinada's water and exposing it to climate risks. And last, breaking the ice. Rapid Himalayan glacier melt is enlarging unstable moraine lakes that could burst during extreme rain or earthquakes. Tung Naga, Sikkim. Faster glacier retreat is enlarging unstable lakes like South Lonak, raising GLOF risk in the Teesta Valley. Dense hydropower road and riverside development amplifies exposure. Now, when the rain turns heavy, we don't sleep. Since the 2023 incident, that fear hasn't gone away, says Norbu Lepcha of Tung Naga. A local official notes that planning norms seldom include detailed GLOF risk modeling. Continuous satellite monitoring of priority lakes, more robust and weather resilient warning systems, and targeted mitigation options for rapidly expanding lakes like South Lonak are needed. Strict land use zoning, cloudburst detection, and GLOF inclusive planning for hydropower and settlement growth are essential. With that, I'll end here.